Of the inhalable categories, pre-rolls are perhaps one of the most convenient product types. Maybe that's why the category has had continued growth in both the US and Canada, and is currently the second largest product category next to flower in Canada, third largest in the US. So throughout this report from Headset, we're going to revisit the category, take a closer look at the growth of pre-rolls, examining the market share and segments both in the US and Canada, all coming up.
It's only entertainment.
Welcome back to the Talking Hedge. I'm Josh Kincaid, capital markets analyst and host of your Cannabis Business Podcast. Let's look at the market share of pre-rolls in the US and Canada. Very popular. It's a matter of price and convenience. Those are the top two reasons why people go out and do stuff. So it's no different between Canadians and Americans, but Canadians prefer the convenience as more evident. Pre-rolls, second largest product category, with nearly $1 out of every $4 spent on cannabis going towards pre-rolls. So nearly double that the market size in the US, even though Americans have a lot more smokers in regulated states than Canada. Still, Canadians obviously love their pre-rolls. So in the US, 12.6% is how much consumers are diving into that category. They're spending more money on other products like vape pens, edibles, concentrates. The vape pen is all about conservative states. They don't want to smell like anything, right? It's very discreet. So when you're in a conservative area, you want to be discreet. You're going to go towards vape pens. It makes sense to me. Edibles have their own certain category preferences. People dive towards edibles, especially on a Friday between the hours of 4 and 6, I believe. At least a third of all edibles throughout the month or so between those 2 hours on that one day. And then concentrates are mostly younger generations. So that's what's making the bulk of those sales. Pre-rolls, however, women 50 and older, white women 50 and older are the number one demographic for pre-rolls, but a lot of tourists also like them. Grab and go. You don't have to have anything. It's also an inexpensive way to try different strains. If you don't like it, you don't want to buy bulk, even though the quality isn't that great. People do tend to use pre-rolls for that reason. So you take some market share away from inhalables by going after those other segments, being vape pens, edibles, concentrates, but we're just take a look at market share pre-roll over time. When we look at this particular category over time, we can find that the pre-roll market has been increasing in both the US and Canada. Either that, or maybe the amount of edibles that people were eating were decreasing post COVID. Maybe that's it. Don't know. I'm not sure if we can infer that from the data, but what we can see is that Canada loves this category. They got a 5.9 positive difference between the overall market share of pre-rolls since June of 2021. But the US has seen a smaller but noticeable increase, around 2% from last year. So that's coming at the expense of decreasing flower category. We'll probably see flower hit 40% cap within all regions. And then the other 60% will be dominated by a mass amount of different products. The least popular are the topicals and the tinctures. I think concentrates are reducing in popularity. There's just not enough people, and maybe the folks that are coming of age will increase that popularity, or at least keep the cash flow going. I just don't think that it's going to be a dominant category form, mostly because it's expensive. It requires a lot of gadgets, and it's just a different high. I kind of think of it as like a clean, clear high versus flowers, kind of that full body. And I think a lot of people would prefer, a 25% flower over 90% concentrate because of that. Maybe I'm wrong. What do you think? In these graphs, we could take a closer look at the growth of the market share of pre-rolls in the US and Canada over the last year. Both countries have seen a sharp increase in market share during the first half of 2022. And since January, market share pre-rolls have grown 12% in the US and 31% in Canada. I think that at home, a lot of people may like bongs. I have a bubbler. That's my go-to, something that's got a water filter. But when you're on the go, maybe That's the preference. So when I'm on the go, I take vape pens, something like this, where I don't care if I lose it, um, is my preference on the go. But it looks like pre-rolls are definitely Canadians' choice when they're on the go. Maybe a lot more people are out working rather than stay at home. Not really sure, but there's a massive spike here that tells me something happened in January of this year. And I'm thinking that was the Canada allowed for domestic travel. So that's telling me people are out and about doing their thing and they're taking their pre-rolls with them. When we drill into the individual states and provinces, you can see the Canadian markets tend to have significantly more pre-roll market share than the US markets. So, which is unsurprising given that we've seen in previous graphs, but BC is in the lead with pre-rolls making up 28% of the total cannabis sales in the first half of 22. That's pretty substantial that a third of all sales is going towards pre-rolls. West Coast, I'm telling you, we love our pre-rolls. And I think as long as California kind of stays on board with that, that'll probably be the national lead as the conservative states like Arizona, maybe even New York will adopt more pre-roll sales and less vape pen, less conservative forms of consumption. Of the US markets, California, most pre-roll markets with 14.8%, and then Colorado has the lowest at 8%. So that makes it the fifth largest product category in Colorado. I know Washington is really popular. I don't know what percentage, but definitely a go-to up here, and Oregon for that matter. When we look at all the different options or segments within pre-rolls, there's a different mix between the US and Canada. You have single strain hybrid are really popular up in Canada. They get 42% of pre-roll sales. But in the US, people like the infused pre-rolls. That's 41%. People want to get really, really high. They want that one thing, that one hitter quitter. It's going to just knock them out. And that's why they want the edible. That's why they want the infused blunt. That's why they want these things, is because by Friday, they just want to get hammered. Some of the folks that I know, lawyers, whatever, they take an edible at Friday and it takes them a couple of days to recover. So by Monday, it rolls around, they don't have that cloudy headed fogginess that tends to linger on from an edible when you take too much. So with pre-rolls, it doesn't surprise me at all in the US. People are coming in with infused. My cousin stopped by just a couple of days ago, came in from Montana, bought an infused. Wasn't great. Didn't even know it was infused until I looked at the packaging, actually. But it is growing in Canada, although a lot smaller. It's only 0.1% of pre-roll sales last year for infused. People just didn't really buy it up there in Canada. That could be due to the price up there. You maybe just don't see the value in it. When you look at the average, Canadians are spending about 17% more than in US. That's around $21 Canadian or $16 US. That's compared to $13 in the US. So just a few dollars cheaper here, but it all adds up, especially now with inflation, people kind of really prioritizing a lot more. The infused segment is even more than that. So that's just regular joints. Infused joints in Canada go for almost $21, whereas in the US, they're $16. I mean, I get those for $10, and there's 30% off sales like 3 days a week here. So it's definitely going to eat into 420 sales. It's always the first big day of the year for 420, but I think 4th of July blew it away. I think New Year's Eve is going to blow it away. I think even Green Friday isn't that right before Thanksgiving. Black Friday is going to be a big sale. So yeah, 420 is definitely not the biggest day of the year for sales any longer, but you can at least get 30% off if you look around. Regardless of the price, you can see that pre-rolls are growing in both the US and Canada. So flower continues to surrender some of its grip. It's going to go from 40-something% down to 40 or sub 40 on the market share. Pre-roll is definitely getting in there. If not second, they're going to get in right behind the vape pens and probably bypass that at some point as well to become, if not the third, at least the second largest in all of North America and probably the world. So strong growth sales. We're going to see a lot less cone shaped and a lot more cylindrical shaped. I'm seeing those manufacturers online now. The pre-rolls clog. There's all these issues. It's not the right shape. It's not the right draw. It's not an ideal customer experience. If you like it, that's fine. But it's not the ideal experience. There's a much better draw, a much better user experience from a cylindrical joint. And that's why, see that in the tobacco world. So, I'm not concerned what people think it is, if they think it's tobacco, if they think it looks too much like a cigarette. I don't really care. I'm going for what's the best experience at this point, and I'm just not interested in placating, anybody's opinions anymore. There's a lot of people who have their own opinions, don't really care. I'm going for the cylindrical because it's the right draw. Really looking forward to some of these other manufacturers coming out with cylindrical. I will not buy a pre-roll. Already said that, and I'm holding to it.
With that, we're going to roll this one up. I'm Josh Kincaid. This is The Talking Hedge. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or don't, and I'm out.
Don't forget to smash that like button on your way out and check out these other videos that we've got.